because that's a short. This is the thing. So we were talking about Tim Thomas because Cal,
Shout
what's the
out
name of
Cal.
the
Shout
pod?
out All Things Hoops.
All Things Hoops. I have seen his Instagram, but I don't remember speaking to him. But he's interviewing Tim Thomas right now. I think AllBall has spoken to him on a live before. Seems like a cool dude. He's very East Coast cocky. He's
Yes,
he's very the
I like Cal.
same. Like what?
No, I like Kyle's energy. Like his energy gives
Not
off.
Cal. Not
Oh,
Cal.
oh, you're not talking
Tim
about Kyle. Okay,
Tim Thomas.
okay. I thought you was talking about All Things Hoop. All Things Hoops
No, no, no.
he's excellent at what he does.
Tim
No, Tim.
Thomas, I think
Oh
that's
yeah,
he has the
yes.
story of a bunch of, from what I understand, like thinking that I know ball, being a really much more of a spectator than anything else. I believe that getting to know these ball players, they all New Yorkers have a chip on their shoulder, even if they don't make it to the league, they still act like they were there. And a lot of it comes from that New York fame. So Tim Thomas, I think I remember saying that about him in the league. Yo, he's Tim Thomas, he's a bust. And my man, shout out to Rob, shout out to I think Hedrick. They all went to like I think school around that time, but to them, they were in school competing against like a Ron Artest or whoever else. And they're like, nah, Tim Thomas was basically like damn near a legend in New York. So I had to always keep that in mind when I talk about ball players, especially usually when you speak about anybody that brings up high school history, college pedigree, and specifically high school pedigree. It's usually a ball player. It's almost never someone like myself, all these nerds online that just focus on the NBA stats. They will never bring up somebody's high school pedigree, ever. So when you do hear that, it's like, yo, dog, for you to take over in high school is still something. So I think that's a lot of what Tim Thomas's background. But the question was, or I thought, Tim Thomas's career is kind of Jeff Greenish
Oof,
was my comment, and
oof.
that's what made Flea's gear spin. So
That I almost jumped out the window on that one, man, because their games parallel each other so much, right? Versatile guys could play 2, 3, 4, right? Can guard. Both of those guys are solid defenders, right? Tough guys. Tim Thomas maybe 6'10". I give Jeff Green maybe maxes out at 6'8" or 6'9". But both strong guys. Both guys defend the post well. Um, and both guys can go get a bucket if you go ask them to go get a bucket. Right? Jeff Green, I just shout out to Jesse Sapp. I just had Jesse Sapp on Are We Live? And
another New
just
York legend.
another New York legend, Harlem legend, New York City's finest. Shout out to Jesse Sapp, man.
Okay,
Sapp got in his bag when he was talking about Jeff Green, and he just could not stop glowing over how great of a career Jeff Green had. We're talking about Jesse Sapp, who played with Jeff Green back in 2006, 7, 8 as part of that Georgetown team that made a run to the Final Four. Jeff Green is still playing basketball today on a high level in the NBA Finals right now. And a contributor, Fabian, he gets minutes. He contributes. They look to him to come in the game and add something to what they're doing. So I definitely think in totality, Jeff Green probably had a better career than Tim Thomas. And I might even go out on a limb and say Jeff was more talented. I might get killed for that. But I know what I saw of Jeff Green as a youngster. I know I was really, really young when Tim Thomas was tearing up Jersey in high school, like destroying Jersey in high school. But they say, man, they say Tim Thomas as a high school player was he was that.
I'm looking at the stats here, and Tim Thomas's averages 11.5 for his career. 7.5, 75% from three, from free throws. Total rebounds, 4 rebounds. Is that rebound? Yeah, 4 rebounds, 1.5 assists, 3-point percentages, 37% for his career, and 43% from the field. Jeff Green for his career is 12 per game, 44% from the field, 45 basically, and 33% from 3-point range.
Tim was 37.
37% from 3-point range. So
37%, especially during Tim's career, that's above average. For
that's
Jeff, that's below average.
yep. Yep.
How many
So I
teams? How many teams? Jeff Green play on? That should be a trivia question. Can you
yeah.
name all the teams that Jeff Green played for?
I would think off the rip, I would have thought Tim Thomas was harder. I would say Tim Thomas played. Damn, nah. Jeff
The
Green has to have
first,
played for more teams.
the first couple teams that come to mind for Tim Thomas: the Knicks, the Bucks, Philly,
Phoenix.
Phoenix. The Knicks, the Bucks, Philly, Phoenix.
Let's go to the tape.
Yeah, are we missing any?
Dallas, Chicago, the Clippers.
That's towards
He went back to the Knicks.
yeah, that's towards the end though.
Right. Phoenix. He went back. He started in Philly, went to
Yeah,
Milwaukee, then he went to
right,
the Knicks,
right,
Chicago, Phoenix, Clippers,
right.
Knicks,
Okay,
Chicago, Dallas. And
okay.
his career ended at 32. So that's major because Jeff Green's still going, like you said. And we know the
And Jeff,
complications with his heart and everything
right. Jeff was able to bounce back from that. Jeff was going for like a year and a half, close to 2 years
with his
off of
heart.
that, off of the heart situation.
Yeah. So I think I would rather have Jeff Green's career. That's tough to say, being what he went through. Um, I think Tim Thomas, I think they're both underachievers based on the talent and the way they came into the game.
100%.
But you said Jeff Green got more talent, so that's tough. But
I just think
I
pound for pound, bro. Like if you go here, Jeff, go get a bucket for me. Here, Tim, go get a bucket for me. I think Jeff got a little more in his bag than Tim did on the pro level, right? If we dumb it down and go back to high school, Tim Thomas was a freak in high school. He was just bigger, faster, stronger than everybody in the state of Jersey. That was just flat out. He was just better. Jeff came up in the DMV when there were a ton of guys that were upper echelon players coming out of that DC, Maryland, Virginia area. So, Jeff is coming out and, around the same time as Rudy Gay. And, Rudy was the guy down in DC, that DMV area. So definitely that the competition level in the DMV for him at the time that he was coming up is I think might be a little more competitive. It might even be head and shoulders more competitive than what Tim was facing in Jersey.
it's funny you mentioned Rudy Gay. He's another underachiever in my book. Like he more so than Tim Thomas and Jeff Green had a legit chance to be a top 5 player. Like he just
When
looked
he
like
came in, there was high hopes for Rudy Gay, and not fake because Rudy was supremely talented, could shoot it, could dribble it, could get to the rim, go downhill, you know, shoot off the dribble, shoot, catch, and shoot, and will dunk you, put you in the rim too. So
I want to go in depth about underachievers because I myself consider myself an underachiever, so I recognize underachievement when I smell it a mile away.
okay,
So
okay.
yeah,
We might
I
need to put a top 10, top 5 all underachievers list together.
oh yeah, you'll be surprised about the names I got on there.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
There
You
should
won't.
be a criteria for underachieving though, because the first name that comes to mind that underachieved It's gonna mess you up though, because you like this guy, Shaq.
I was thinking the same thing actually.
Get the fuck out of here, Fabe.
I always thought that. You kidding me?
Bro,
Of
bro.
course. Of course.
We love Shaq. We know what Shaq brought to the game. We know the most dominant player of all time, damn near. 3-time champion, the laundry list, MVP, all of that. You game planned for Shaq. You went to sleep. You went and got a good night's sleep for Shaq. Big men got sick before games because they was going to face Shaq, right? That's the type of fear Shaq put in you. But there's no way Shaq should only have one MVP. There's no way
That's
Shaq
crazy.
one MVP, Fade. There's no reason Shaq shouldn't have a rebounding title. He doesn't have one. There's no way Shaq shouldn't have a blocks title. He doesn't have one. How many all defensive teams did Shaq make? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying Shaq was, I'm not saying Shaq was barbecue chicken. No. But what I am saying is he could have been
The best player ever.
ever,
What are we talking about?
ever.
That's why he's, of course, because his Rudy Gay underachieved at being a top 5 player in his era. Shaq underachieved at being the best player ever, and he knows that, and he's passive aggressive about it. So he sounds like me. I think I'm a bit more passive aggressive when I come off, and I get it because I think those other guys, the Hakeem Olajuwons, even Kobe to crack. I don't know if he makes my top 10. I always go back and forth, but even he has that in his DNA where it's like you're gonna have to kill me to keep me off your top 10. That's
Yeah.
not Shaq. That's just not Shaq. And even though I rank Shaq higher, because there's just no way I start a team and I'm taking Kobe over Shaq. It doesn't make sense to me. Just logically, right? Just it doesn't matter who your favorite player is, not you per
Yeah.
se.
I understand that.
We're on a basketball court. There's nothing you could do about that guy.
Yeah.
And for a while, I thought LeBron was going to make that list
Mm.
because he's in that conversation for best player ever. And it was just, you would go back and forth with a LeBron fan. It's tough, but they get it. That's why I shout out to Rockstar Mel. I do appreciate it. By the way, 12 a.m. in the morning, Rockstar Mel is different than 12 p.m. Rockstar Mel. Two different guys.
Oh, two different guys?
Two different guys. He's way more laid back. He doesn't. His voice is not as high pitched. Way more
Oh,
logical.
he not screaming at cats. Shout out to
No.
Mel. That's my guy.
Yeah.
I know Mel since we was 11
crazy.
years old, 12 years old. Yeah. Mel's my
That's
guy.
crazy. So, who did not underachieve to get this thing started? Bob Myers. This is why we wanted to get on here because
Yeah.
All We Live Flee, myself, Fabian Perspective. Oh, Fabian, you can call me Fabian. A couple weeks back, we were anticipating the whole Bob Myers thing leaving Golden State. We were like, was he a good general manager? That was our thing. And we broke it down. We went through his list of who he acquired, who he drafted, who he traded for. He's the biggest knock on him that everybody you heard every expert, so-called expert, talk about basically his latest draft picks. And we'll get into later a little more in depth about that. Not in depth about that, but like a statement that he made. But what do you think about Bob Myers leaving Golden State? Like, what does that mean?
I had to put it in perspective, Fabian. You like that? You see what I did there? I had to put it in perspective, Fabian. You see what I did there? Listen.
Yeah.
Let
I
me
like
cook.
it.
Let me cook. Let me cook, babe. Let me
The
cook.
stove was on.
The stove is on. Let me cook, big dog. No, listen, man. I went back. We had a conversation about a week ago in regards to breaking down Bob Myers' transactions, right? Just the transactions that he made while he was general manager for the Golden State Warriors, right? And the first thing that jumps out, right, is he obviously didn't draft Stephen Clay. But everything after that, to be able to maximize Stephen Clay's abilities, Bob Myers has everything to do with that, right? I think a a underlying factor that has helped Bob Myers. And I think that this is something that I haven't heard none of the experts, none of the talking heads talk about.
Yeah.
Bob Myers came in and fired Mark Jackson, right? Now, we all have issue, we take issue to that because we love Mark Jackson, especially two guys like ourselves being from New York, right? We love Mark Jackson, right?
Can I
But
just say that? Can I just say that I don't take issue with that ever?
hmm, okay, we can get into that.
You
We can
want
get into
you
that.
right now? Okay, so I
We can
remember
get into
that
that.
playoff series against San Antonio. I thought they should have
Mhm,
beaten the Spurs, and I thought that Mark Jackson beat Steph Curry down by not letting him just sit him down, just
mhm.
spell him. It was not that hard to me. Again, I don't know. I don't try to consider myself an expert. You guys really play ball. Shout out to Beloved. You guys are on the coach on the sideline. Understand
Shout
a
out to
little bit
Beloved.
more. We've heard, you know, Kenny Smith stand up for him now. Mark Jackson saying it's way more political, and he didn't really. The rumors aren't true about what he may have said about the owner whose sexual orientation was apparently a part of this whole debacle or whatever is falling out. But there's no way at this point anyone can question the difference between having Mark Jackson and Steve Kerr.
Night and day.
Eh, Yeah, and I mean, I think the race factor it is a factor. Steve Kerr was in the media a lot more beforehand in the Phoenix Suns background, what he did at the Phoenix Suns. But I was just a fan of Steve Kerr when I heard him speak about basketball. And Mark
He
Jackson, when I hear him speak basketball, I don't hear the in depth. All right, I get how you can motivate us. He's a preacher and everything. But I don't see how basketball wise. I don't see how I would learn basketball way more from him than Steve
interesting.
Kerr.
I've never heard somebody question Mark Jackson's basketball acumen. And
Did it
although
sound
it's
that harsh? It sounded that harsh. The way I
no,
said that.
it just calls it into question because forget forget him as a coach and as a player, but you're talking about being able to watch at least the last 10 NBA finals, listen to him, right? Now, mind you, you're listening to him all season long when he's doing games, ABC, ESPN, but we really lock in on Mike Breen, Mark Jackson, Jeff Van Gundy when the playoffs come around. And if from your vantage point, from your perspective, you feel like you don't get the impression that Mark Jackson knows the game of basketball from how he talks on TV,
No, I
that
don't get I don't get
that says a
motivated.
lot.
No, no, not that he doesn't know ball. That's crazy to say.
Okay.
That's why I'm hoping I didn't come off that way. I'm saying I'd rather hear Steve Kerr talk about basketball.
And
It's
see, that's where I was getting at, Fabian, because I think Bob Myers fell into a great position, right, with having Stephen Clay at your disposal. But people forget Steve. I mean, excuse me, Stan Van Gundy was the head candidate to take over for Mark Jackson. People forget that he was
I
the head. He was the head candidate to take over for Mark Jackson, and Bob Myers said, "Hell no, we are going to bring in Steve Kerr." Now, Kerr was up for the Nick job as well. Remember that, right?
you
Phil damn near gave it to him, right? We ain't got to get into that today because that'll piss me off. But
no,
he
we
had
actually will get into it.
that's fine,
Go ahead.
that's fine
Yeah.
because the parting gift was fucking Derek Fisher. But anyway, uh, that was we won 17 games that season, Fabe. That was a awful season. Look at you recollecting on the season right now. You remember it. You thinking back to it.
It's not the season that hurt me the most. It's the fact that what a sliding door moment when
Yeah.
Steve Kerr can come to the Knicks. And yeah, we knew we were gonna suck anyway, but we just saw that with Steve Nash.
Mhm.
It's the reason why I brought up what I brought up with JJ Redick, that it's Derek Fisher, Steve Nash that can spoil JJ Redick's chances at becoming this first time coach off the headset because of Derek Fisher who wasn't even in the media. So we never got to hear him talk basketball.
Mhm.
And Steve Nash. When I did hear him, I wasn't impressed by him either. I
Mhm.
was never motivated to play ball after I heard the Steve Nash interview ever.
Mhm.
Derek Fisher has always been come on kind of sneaky to say the least.
Well,
But
he's the king of dirty macking, but that's another
before I even knew that, he just came off that way. Something about him,
something
slithery.
about okay.
Chris Paul, I've been saying that for years, and I didn't know that much about him. And I didn't know Kenyon Martin said that about him. But my point
Oh,
is that
I've been watching Chris Paul since he was in college, and when he did shout out to Julius Hodge when he did that to our guy Julius Hodge, like nah,
nutso. So
nuts. So,
so excuse me.
but I was in my bag for a second, Fabe.
I'm sorry.
Let me get back to that real fast.
Get back to it.
Bob Myers made a hell of a hire, and why I'm saying that is because Steve Kerr was on TV. Steve Kerr was a former player. And then to put a cherry on the top, Steve Kerr was the GM of the Phoenix Suns for like a season or two, right? So now you got player, championship level player, broadcast media guy, and has been in the front office. I am coming from being an agent. I'm coming from representing Kendrick Perkins. Uh, the list goes on. Bob Myers had a ton of guys he represented. I'm coming from that spot. It's a hell of a hire to go get somebody that knows how to do all these different jobs within a NBA team organization. I thought that was a great thing to do to help him be successful at his job. Kerr was going to be a good coach, whether Bob Myers was there or not. I don't know if Bob Myers is a good GM if Kerr is not there. And so that's why I don't think that there's really beef between them. I think I think Steve Kerr was a godsend for Bob Myers. You know what I'm saying, bro? Like I don't know how successful he would have been. I don't know if he would have been able to see things from a GM's perspective like Steve Kerr had, because Steve Kerr's been in that spot already, right? So now I can help you. We need to move Monte Ellis because we need to free up Steph Curry. We can't have Monte Ellis next to Steph Curry anymore. We can't do it. David Lee, it has gone down with an injury. Bob Myers drafts Draymond Green. So now I'm in a position, Steve Kerr, to replace David Lee with Draymond Green, who we stole in the second round. By the way, Bob Myers, go and draft Harrison Barnes in the lottery. Right? So I think just sitting back after that conversation we had about a week ago, Bob did a hell of a job there. Aside from the transactions that he made, he had to, along with Steve Kerr, manage a lot of different egos, a lot of different situations, a la Jerry Krause and Phil Jackson. Just how I see it, a la Phil Jackson and Jerry West. Right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they have to be in a position to sell what we want to do, get you in the door, and keep going. Okay, we need a versatile guy that can guard all positions and handle the ball. We need another ball handler and a guy that can pass and a guy that can guard all positions. Okay, let me go get Andre Iguodala. Let me go get him. Okay, we need another ball handler, but we need a guy that could create matchup problems from the guard position and guard bigger guards. Okay, let me go get Sean Livingston.
The Sean Livingston thing is just totally like forgotten about, right? Like that's the mid range. I mean, the Golden State Warriors fans will remind you and everything, but there's just no those first two just finals appearance. I'm big on appearances. I don't care if it's the MVP. I don't. All right, how many MVPs does this guy win? How many? What interests me more always is how many MVPs were they contending for throughout their
Mm.
career? How many Defensive Player of the Year awards were they contending for? Because
Because
that's a
everybody
separate
don't win.
conversation.
Everybody doesn't win. You're right.
And then there's always a narrative. Now with a
Right.
championship, there really isn't a narrative, and there might be. People can spell a narrative with the injuries and shit like that. But for me, it's also how many going back to what you said with the Steve Kerr hire, right? He didn't just get Iguodala, the Andrew Bogut. He drafted Draymond Green, of
Drafted
course, the
HB.
Harrison Barnes, which led to a different another. We haven't even mentioned that.
And,
As much
and
as
you got to be able to do the deal. I don't care if he wanted it. I don't care if Kevin Durant, we talking about Kevin Durant, y'all. I don't care if Kevin Durant wanted to be in Golden State. You, Bob Myers, had to be the guy to make sure that stuff can move around. And then Bob Myers had to be responsible enough to say, hey, Katie, look, don't leave us ass out. Let me orchestrate a sign and trade so that we can get D'Angelo Russell back. So you don't just leave us with nothing. Go ahead. So now we get D'Angelo Russell back. Clay's already going to be hurt because he tore his ACL that in the finals. And then what? Steph breaks his hand that following year. So
right,
now you need D'Lo, right? Now you need a lead guard. So a lot of subtle moves, I think. We could talk about Wiseman, Moody, Kuminga, Jordan Poole, the recent guys.
which is part of why they do believe there is a beef between Myers and Steve Kerr, because they
Talk to me
some
about that.
people some people reported his comment of I don't yeah I don't because I don't draft well. That's what he said.
Bob Myers,
Yeah, in his
right?
exit interview, and it sounded snarky. Like it sounded
Mm.
like so. I'm not sure if that's from the media because he seems to be a smartass too. Because that thing when he got Kevin Durant and during the championship parade,
He,
he threw that shot at
he threw that
Durant.
shot at KD. Yeah,
You're not homegrown or everything like that. Again, KD's way too sensitive, and the fact that it's not just that. I think the one thing that's totally overlooked by everybody is the way he manages Draymond Green. I think that's what's overlooked. And Draymond Green has to respect him, number one, because I drafted you in the second round.
I
So
gave you
I got your
opportunity.
respect. You can't respect anybody more than me. Because I could have passed you by and then you go where?
But see, here's the thing, Fabe. I think I think Bob Myers is getting out early. Like he could have stayed this season and see what happens. But I think he sees the writing on the wall. I think he's, reading the tea leaves. I see that I didn't even realize he was there for 11 years now. He's been there over a decade now. So he's been there a long time, right? I can see that he has lost control of Draymond Green. Not control of him, the player, but his voice is not resonating with Draymond anymore. Just in terms
Totally
of
disagree. Totally disagree.
so I'm gonna
Totally
let you I'm
disagree.
gonna let you get in your bag, right? I'm gonna let you get
Yeah.
in your bag. But if if his voice was still resonating, if he still felt like he had um some kind of control over what's going on in terms of managing egos, personalities, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of things that Draymond has done over the course of this entire dynasty that you put somebody else in there, one, they would have either given up on him, moved him, or would have just relinquished the job a long time ago because they just can't they just can't feel like they have any control. He has done this for a long time, and I just think he's getting out early and he's at his wit's end. He knows that he can't control that situation no more. It's out of hand. They all admitted that that punch in the preseason showed up in the playoffs as opposed to all season long. They put a band-aid over it. And then when they played the Lakers, they ripped the shit off. Right. So I just think he sees that the end is coming. for that dynasty. What's going on over there? Steph is too old to retool around him. He's 35. How do you really retool around him? Clay had a career year last year, but you know he's on the other side. And Draymond trash now. Draymond not good now. He's just not good anymore. So talk to me. You
We
totally
got to stay with
disagree.
Draymond. No,
Okay.
we got to stay right there because you just cling hit that light bulb just now. Because I totally forgot about that punch. I don't know why. How?
Did you?
Yeah.
Huh.
But in my mind, there's no way he was in control of that tape being released, and he's pissed about that. He's pissed about that.
Why haven't we heard about who released the tape, when they got fired, why it was done? See, there's no Joe Laker came out and made a statement, Fabe, and said, we are going to get to the bottom of this. We need to know what happened. This is from the owner, right? Whole 82-game season. We in the finals now. We don't even know what happened with that.
There's no way the owner doesn't know who did that.
Okay.
That's impossible.
Okay.
He doesn't want Draymond around. I don't think Joe Lakers likes Draymond Green. And Bob Myers loves Draymond Green. Big difference. Throughout the season, you'll see Draymond Green. He'll step aside from the team and go into the stands and talk to Bob Myers. Bob Myers like, whoa, he said something to him. John goes, yeah, like, you're right. Daps him up and walks off. First time I saw that, I was like, who the hell is that guy? And he's doing, oh, that was Bob Myers? Interesting. Then Bob Myers is a free agent at come summertime. What? So is Draymond Green. Interesting. The fact that he drafted him in the second round to the Golden State Warriors, in Draymond's mind, I'm trying to think if Draymond is a super loyal guy like that. He never talks shit about Stephen Curry. Ever. I don't remember him criticizing Steve Kerr too much.
He does none of those three. Steph, Clay, or Kerr, or Myers. He don't have nothing bad to say about those four.
Ever. I'm trying to think of a slight he threw at Laker. I'm trying to think of one. But I know how that conversation with him and Kevin.
There was stuff talked about a few years back when he started to get more vocal in the media. Because at one point, nobody wanted to talk to Draymond. I don't know if you remember that. At one point, he wasn't the first guy that when you get into the locker room, you want to run and talk to because he wasn't playing. He didn't have that effect for a little while. So, damn, I lost my train of thought. We said Draymond. We said
Stephen Curry.
Oh, his critique on Joe Laker. Only thing that I remember is him saying, I mean, it shouldn't be no problem about us dipping into the tax because there was a few guys that they needed to sign. And so that's the only thing that I remember him saying, there shouldn't be any problem about them going into the luxury tax. We got the money kind of thing. I'm paraphrasing, but
I look at it like Draymond's always reminding me of 50 Cent. I look at it like 50 Cent never dissed Eminem. Ever. He holds him down the same way Draymond holds down Bob Myers. But 50 Cent has got at Dr. Dre. 50 Cent has got at Jimmy Iovine. They don't mean nothing to him because they didn't draft me. Eminem wanted me here. That's who drafted me to Interscope Records. Draymond saying Bob Myers, that's who put me in prime position. I mean, this is a guy we never would have thought would have been this level of a superstar. The only reason why he's interesting is because he's crazy. Just straight up crazy. What he does is insane. Kicking people in the nuts is crazy.
It's insane.
Acting like he ain't doing nothing is crazy. He goes on camera after he snuffs homeboy and he's still crazy. I gotta respect it because that's the guy I'm working on a video where, damn, do you guys understand what it takes to be a villain? So Bob Myers knows I got my Dennis Rodman. I got my bad boy Piston. I got just that evil dude who's he's the pit bull that has to protect Klay Thompson and Steph Curry because without him, trust you me, there is no dynasty.
But
I know everyone says he sucks and everything like that. His value is way more than anyone ever thinks. He's in there the same way he's politicking and got with Colin Cowherd, and they have their own YouTube channel and all that. To me, it's totally strategic. The way he's strategizing is now just buddy, and LeBron is basically his daddy. It sounds like this.
They said
I hold nothing
they
back
said
about that.
Fabe, they said if LeBron's son had a bar mitzvah tonight, and Braun ain't even Jewish, but if Braun's son had a bar mitzvah, Draymond Green is taking 3 days off of work to make sure that he's there
Steve Kerr had to convince him to not go to the when he broke the
to
record.
when he broke the record.
When
Right. That
LeBron broke
wouldn't
the
be good.
score.
That wouldn't be good for our team, Draymond.
When LeBron broke the scoring record. So this is the kind of mind you're dealing with. That level of loyalty to manage Draymond Green, it takes a special. Bob Myers, by the way, we can't overlook the fact that he walked onto the UCLA basketball team. He was a walk-on,
It was a
part-time
walk-on.
starter. They
Yep.
won in '95. Was that with Tyus Edney?
Tyus Edney, Toby Bailey,
Okay, I remember watching
the
that game.
the
You know,
Oban,
I
the
don't.
Oban, the O'Bannon brothers,
O'Bannon brothers are college legends. I
legends,
Tyus Edney got I think drafted by Sacramento Kings. I only
Sacramento
read
Kings. Toby
that's like
Bailey got
one.
drafted too, I believe.
That's my only like college, like young
Ooh, Fabian,
college.
look at you in your bag.
I
Look,
There's certain things I remember,
look
but
at you in your bag. You said Tyus Edney. Remember that shot Tyus hit?
round the
Going full
back,
court, round the back. You know the shit.
that
You
was my
know.
first. That was my first buzzer beater like moment watching it live. I think in any
Watching it
sport.
live.
Yeah, and I was
That's a hell
like,
of a moment.
right. So that's where Joe
Time
Lacob
time
comes
time
from.
timestamp this.
Okay,
Because we gotta play that. We gotta play that highlight after the Tyus Edney reference. We gotta timestamp this.
and for me, it takes a special kind of guy to understand all that about like a Draymond Green and role players. He was working for Arm Tellem, who now is with Detroit. I didn't realize that. So that agency, he went up to like vice
He grew
president.
he grew he grew under on tell him. Yeah.
He Draymond understands him. He understands Draymond. Bob Myers just that's there's no way they do not understand each other. They speak the same language.
Mm.
Bulldog. Period. There's no. Are we surprised? Would we be surprised if Draymond and Bob Myers joins the same team this summer or next summer? Because Bob Myers might take a year off. A year off.
So he takes a year off, Fabian. Phoenix calls. New York Knicks call.
Or we're there.
Yes, we are there. Phoenix calls. New York Knicks call. Got another one for you. Phoenix calls. The New York Knicks call. The Washington Wizards call.
No. They already took.
They got Winger, but Winger hasn't hired a GM yet. Winger is
Got it.
president of basketball operations. Now I don't know if Bob Myers has built such a solid resume that I'm sure he's not looking to go into any situation under somebody,
Right.
right? So going in to the Knicks as a GM under Leon Rose, I don't know if that's his cup of tea. But what I do think, right? Matt Ishbia is the new Phoenix Suns owner. Phoenix flames out in the second round after going to get Kevin Durant, giving up Cam Johnson and Miles Bridges, along with some other pieces.
Mikal Bridges.
Mikal Bridges. Now, as much as, yeah, you do that deal, right? But they didn't recoup anything, right? So that's when the depth shows in the playoffs and they get bounced. They damn near almost got swept because just the feeling of that series was always Denver's going to win this series. Matt Ishbia is a new owner. Why wouldn't Matt Ishbia come in and say, hey, James Jones, you did a hell of a job, my man. Thank you for your services. I'll catch you on the spin. Bob Myers, Phoenix Suns job is wide open for you. And here, check this out. I'll give you full autonomy. President of basketball operations, GM, everything. Come over here and create something for me. I'm a new owner. And we're both former players. Ishbia played for Tom Izzo at Michigan State. What do we think, Fabian? What do we think? I see something moving up there Between your ears.
I'm gonna throw the
You got another team?
crazy. Oh no. I didn't even think about the Phoenix Suns. That was ill. That was crazy ill, especially if Draymond joins them this summer.
And then they go get Draymond. And then they
You
go
know,
get
with
Draymond,
Draymond.
babe.
Here's the here's a here's a turnover and a Kevin Love transition pass back to you. 1 year from now, Steve Kerr is a free agent.
Right?
Who used to work for the Phoenix Suns organization and is quite familiar with the city already. Mr. Steve Kerr. I love that idea. Way more than the LeBron Lakers thing.
I don't like it. Now, I like it for this portion. Draymond's on the other side of his career. He's not a guy that is a volume scorer, a guy that can still shoot it at a high level. That's why I felt like his value was so much higher a couple years ago because he was actually a threat on the offensive end. Now he walks around with that fucking backpack on his back and he can't find offense. And
Right.
when he does, it's really cake, right? It's really just like icing on whatever they got going on, right? But
Yeah, him losing his confidence is like a damn near Nick Anderson mystery. Like he should not have lost that much confidence in his offense at all.
bro, Nick Anderson missed those 4 free throws and then proceeded to struggle from the free throw line for the rest of his career, baby.
Like
Rest of his career.
like Draymond doesn't have a moment like that. Maybe I think it was a shoulder injury or whatever it was. But you don't. We get it. He's not great on the court. But I
Mm-hmm.
would think that Draymond is trying to get into that front office somewhere, and I just think he's tied into Bob Myers. I don't know if he goes to Phoenix, would Steve Kerr want to be attached to that? Because he's again 1 year from now, Steve Kerr is available, and also I forgot to mention Steve Kerr is a guy. Bob Myers hired him, obviously, right? Before all of this came out, so 2 months ago, it was already an article about Bob Myers, and they asked Steve Kerr about it. He said it does not feel like the last dance. With the Bulls, they kind of knew that. They knew this was the last dance. That's what the documentary was about, and they had that feeling. He felt like they weren't gonna have a last dance, and Joe Lacob said the same thing. Like he's befuddled basically. So he said at the press conference, like he can't understand why Bob Myers wants to leave, but it's not up to him. And it just leads me to believe that there's no bad blood going back to that with Steve Kerr and Bob Myers. And just why wouldn't he join him on the Phoenix Suns unless he says I can join you anywhere unless you're with Draymond.
Right. I
I don't
my
know if Steve Kerr likes Draymond like that. I gotta be honest about that.
well, for Kerr to publicly say we don't win without him, we're not good without him. Uh oh my Jesus. Oh yeah, they broke the bank. Sorry to cut myself off like that. Detroit just broke the bank to hire Monty Williams. 6 years, $72 million deal. Good
Horrendous.
Lord.
Good. Thank you, Detroit, for continuing to suck for the next 6 years. Not impressed. I love it.
Highly impressed by the hire. Highly impressed by the hire. Young team over there. Young killers. Cade Cunningham will be an all-star in the next 2 years. Book that. Jaden Ivey, hell of a player. Duran, Marvin Bagley. They got Wiseman over there now. Diallo. Young team. Young team. They're not going to be very good yet, but they got a young team.
Congrats on your new Doc Rivers, Detroit Pistons. Um,
Nope. I'm not even going to let you do that. I'm not even going to let you do that.
all right.
I'm not even going to fucking let you do that. You just said Monty Williams parallels Doc Rivers? The nerve.
Let's back on track. So we see Steve Kerr, Phoenix Suns. I love that move. That makes a lot of sense. New owner, everything. The Knicks. That's the part where a lot of people are going after. I feel the same way you do. How the hell does he go to the Knicks if another other agent is over there? Probably a former competitor. as an agent, right?
And
Uh,
Leon Rose has a laundry list of guys just like Bob Myers. When they were both representing people, I mean, Leon's list was probably longer than Bob's, right? He's been in it a lot longer. So I can't see. I would love it. I would love those two minds to be together, but you got to understand control, power. That's a hell of a position to be in the NBA. One of 30, right? The head coach, the GM, president, all of those are one of 30 jobs, right? So I don't know if Bob, but then again, it's the Knicks, right? It's the Knicks.
what about him?
Me, just meaning the look, the organization, history. I'm talking in terms of how Bob Myers may be looking at this. We're a 5 seed. Leon Rose is turning us in a competitive direction. We're making competent moves, right? This is the first time we signed a guard and we saw immediate change with a free agent signing. Obviously, Melo is different, all that kind of stuff, but Brunson is the first guy in a long time where we sign and we see immediate change. So I don't know. Maybe Bob Myers looks at that and says they're going in the right direction. I got some ideas, some things that I want to throw out there. And if I'm part of building a championship for the Knicks, I go anywhere and get any job I want. Bob Myers, if he becomes part of the team that reconstructs the New York Knicks into a championship team, he's like a god in his lane. Coming from a dynasty and then come over here and do that. Ah.
See, I think that's where I try to get
And
into the mind.
that's a pipe dream. But go ahead, Fabe.
No. I that it is, but it doesn't make sense to me because of what you just said, the leadership. I don't see them getting along. I don't see how they would negotiate with
Mm-hmm.
each other after being
Mm-hmm.
agents. They're gonna be just Steve Kerr and these guys, Draymond, getting along with them is player to agent relationship.
Mm-hmm.
He's used to that. He can speak their language, and he's a former player. Leon Rose is not. Um, I think he has way too much cachet at this point. Bob Myers to look up to Leon Rose and have to answer to him. That's not
I
just
agree with
ego.
you.
That's like
Yeah,
you got to kiss my rings. You ain't
right,
earned this,
right. And then not
regardless of
and then not to mention have to run things by Dolan too. So now, Lacob is hands off. Lacob trusts Myers. Go do what you do your thing. Oh, thank you for the 4 championships in the last 11 years. Appreciate you. Dolan Rose, that might be different. It might not be go win me championships and I'll just sit back and wait to collect my rings. Dolan ain't gonna do that.
right, and you're gonna get the media hype without even being the dynasty. First day on
Yeah,
the job, first
yeah,
second on the job.
yeah,
That's just bottom line.
yeah.
No matter
It'll
with
be
that,
it'll be October and us as Knick fans, not us specifically, but the Knick fan world will say in October we're winning the championship in June. And what? Because we got Bob Myers. Forget the players. No moves are done. Nothing has happened. It is just the nature of New York Knicks fans to say, "Oh, we made a move. All right, we winning the championship."
yep.
So,
I called Phil Jackson Uncle Phil. I was hyping it up myself.
I
It was
was in a, oh, I was in such a great place, Fabian. We
crazy.
hired Jeff Hornacek. I thought that was a great hire. I
Me
remember it.
too. Me too. Um, and the other thing that we have to factor in, which is a major thing, I think Bob Myers does not understand his new CBA deal. I don't think anyone does. I think the fact that I'm gonna do another again. I'm gonna reference this video I'm gonna make where they're basically turning this into the 1990s again, but there is no Michael Jordan and there is no Chicago Bulls in sight. There's no Golden State Warriors. There's no LeBron in sight. There's no Steph Curry in sight. Who is going to be the star to attract the money to continue for this thing to bankroll? All you're banking on is Joker and these international MVPs to
But the new,
to
but
to expand internationally. But I only see one or two superstars per team now. So that's Bob Myers still has yet to win without a super team or without superstars on your team and whatever that collection is. It's going to be harder to do that, I think, in this era. And I think he may be trying to calculate that. Like, damn, what do I do? If I'm already not behind the 8 ball, I'm behind whatever ball at this point with this team. I think he was in a better position in Golden State than anywhere else, to be honest, now that I think about it. Especially compared to the Knicks.
Yeah, I think if anybody is ahead of the 8 ball in terms of this new CBA that's coming in, it's GMs that were former agents. Those guys have they still have the eye to know, okay, this is how the deals are structured. What am I gonna do to make the most money for me? Right? I gotta get my client in the right spot. I gotta get him the best deal possible. But the best deal possible puts me in a very favorable position, right? These new TV deals are coming out, and I mean, call it what you want, but it's astronomical amounts of money. Boston is going to be in a position where they can max out Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown to the tune of $300 million something dollars, right? Now that's not going to be every team, right? Every team's not going to have that type of guy, but every team got to spend money. We know that every team has to spend money. So you're right, Fabian. Every team doesn't have a guy that's going to be worth $300 million or $250 million for that case. But you are going to see guys like Fred VanVleet get a deal, and you're going to be like, whoa, the hell is that? You are going to see somebody like Vucevic that's a free agent out of Chicago right now. You might see him get a bag, and you like 3 years, $150 million. God damn, what the heck? You know what I'm saying? And I may be exaggerating, but I'm just saying that. Yes, I know what you're talking about with the CBA kind of going back to the structure of the way the 90s, early 2000s is, but it's going to be so difficult because the league is so much more talented. There's so many more guys that possibly could be in the position to demand that money. It might not be 3 guys like what we had the super team era, but there's gonna be a few teams that's like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum.
I don't see any. What teams are like that? That's my thing. Healthy.
So the four that 4 years is up. Damn, hold on a second.
We can't see that, by the way. Whatever you're ducking.
I know. I'm gonna stop the camera so I could kill this. You know, I'm in the South.
Mm-hmm. I'm in Florida. Yeah. So am I.
Yep. So as soon as you open up the garage, the bugs start going crazy. But Bob Myers, Jason Tatum. I had a thought. I need to get it out real fast. I know you're gonna look at me like I'm crazy, but I need to get this on wax. If Bob Myers leaves Golden State, here's my wacky thought, right? Steph goes home to Charlotte, plays next to LaMelo Ball. Clay decides to leave, possibly goes back up to Oregon and plays for Portland, possibly next to Dame, who knows. And Draymond, I didn't think about Phoenix. I did not think about Phoenix. You added Phoenix to the mix once I
Oh, I'm sorry.
said,
Okay.
but I like that. And Draymond finds a home, Phoenix, LA, Miami, somewhere. I know
Miami
that is
sounds.
so far-fetched, right?
No. Miami sounds.
No, but the first thought, Steph and Charlotte. I know
Yeah.
that's ridiculous, but we've seen some nut shit happen in the NBA. So I don't know. I would hope
Again,
Steph retires as a Warrior, but
right, and I think that's the thing. I think the CBA deals was has Bob Myers and just everything else going on with that we don't know about the organization,
mm-hmm.
including next year, like I mentioned. I said he might go to Phoenix because that was just the ill pick that you had for Bob Myers to go to. But there are the rumblings that now Steve Kerr is in position to replace Popavich in San Antonio.
So
That makes sense.
I read this. I'm down a rabbit hole on Twitter last night, I think it was. And I'm reading and I'm like, oh no. Love my brothers respectfully. I know it was late, but I was like, yo, I gotta reach out to my guys and let them know about this report I just read because that's major. Like that's big stuff. We're thinking Becky Hammond, Ime Udoka might decide to say, hey, and he was sitting on the pot for years. So things don't work out in Houston. Maybe I'll go back to San Antonio and play. Thinking about a whole bunch of different ideas, right? Chip England. Chip is the that shooting guru, but he's been grooming himself to become a head coach. Chip is the one who helped transform
Kawhi.
Kawhi Leonard's shot. Right. So you know who I'm talking about. All of these couple different guys that I had, in the forefront. But with this dynasty coming to an end, why wouldn't Steve Kerr go to San Antonio and take over for Pop, getting the first pick in this draft, help groom Wembanyama? San Antonio is a first-class organization. We know that. It's like a win-win for both parties. Kerr's familiar, played there and coached under Pop. It seems seamless to me. I don't know, but I can't
I don't.
see Kerr. Kerr leaves there, right? Kerr leaves Golden State. Let's take San Antonio out the mix. What other team could you see him coaching? You said another team too, Phoenix. That was a hell of a call.
I mean, they just connected to what you're saying with Bob Myers.
What other teams though?
The only other team I can think of for Bob Myers and Steve Kerr is the Orlando Magic.
I
Because
like that.
OKC is already Sam Presti and that coach that
Sam
keep
Preston
getting
not
that coach
going
nowhere.
nowhere,
That head coach is doing a hell of a
and
job
he's a hell of a coach.
so far. Orlando
He's
would
had
be
nothing though. He's had nothing, Faye. He's had nothing, and it's worked
well,
with a lot.
right. I wouldn't say nothing, but just what
I mean, Shay's a hell of a player. Shay's a
Shay's
hell of a player.
SGA is
Shay's
just.
first team All NBA.
And
Hell of a player.
I would love for Bob Myers to be here so that we don't draft someone like Kevin Knox over SGA. By the way, that's it.
That was a mistake. That was a mistake.
That's not just a mistake. If you look at that draft, that's crazy.
That's a mistake. That's awful. That's
So
awful. You got me wanting to look at that now. I'm sorry. Hold on. You got me wanting to look at that.
yeah,
Jesus Christ, you reminded me.
that was crazy. If you look at that draft,
Woo.
no, it's bad, and that's under Leon Rose, isn't it?
No, don't put that smoke on Leon. Don't put that smoke on Leon, Fabe. That's
I looked it
that's
up.
still Phil.
I thought it was nah. I can't say Phil Jackson. Can't say Phil Jackson.
Phil drafted Frankie Nicotine.
Yes, Nick Lakina. And you know what it was? Steve Mills and this guy just got
Yes, there
fired.
we
That's
go.
getting let go.
Yeah,
Scott
that
Perry
was Steve Mills. That was Steve Mills.
and Scott Perry. So, but
Look
they
who's on the
drafted Kevin.
board. Jesus Christ, look
Yeah,
who's on the board. My
Mikal Bridges.
God.
Right, Mikal Bridges right afterwards.
Mikal
So,
Bridges, SGA, Miles Bridges,
yeah,
Michael Porter Jr., Lonnie Walker, Dante DiVincenzo,
Bruce Brown.
Anthony Simons,
Eh,
Rob Williams.
Isn't Jalen Brunson there?
Jesus Christ. Jalen Brunson went in the second round, but even
I'm
he's
think
still on the board.
yeah, I'm thinking Leon Rose was there at that
We
time.
did
But
take Mitchell Robinson that year.
right ahead of Jalen Brunson.
Nah.
Yeah, we had 2 draft picks in the first round. Mitch
Jesus.
Robinson. Yeah, listen, man.
Fabian, completely forgot that we took Kevin fucking Knox over Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
I did not. Or
That's
SGA.
that's disgusting.
We could have
That's
drafted
disgusting.
Mikal Bridges and Jalen Brunson in the first round. But Orlando Magic was the team I wanted to pick for Steve Kerr and Bob Myers if they had to start somewhere, because that talent, I think people don't understand what they have in Orlando. And when you don't have a system, it just changes everything. Boncaro and that kid, if we could sneak and get Franz Wagner before anybody gets over there, and I'm not sure how competent they are in the front office. I love him. Third, he's better than
He's
Barrett in my
an
opinion.
he's he's an incredible player, Franz Wagner. Incredible. Love
And
what he does for them.
and bring his brother with him.
Markelle Fultz found his game.
Okay, I forgot their coach as well. But bring
Jamal Mosley. Shout out Mosley.
I'll bring Franz Wagner's brother on. Mo Wagner is crazy, out of his mind. I love
Mo
him.
Wagner's a good player too.
He's all right. He's more just a lunatic.
Yeah. He a bug out.
But
He's
that's
definitely
why
a
I
bug out.
thought. That's why the other option for Steve Kerr.
Wendell Carter Jr. He's a solid pro. They got players over there. Cole Anthony comes off the bench. You know he plays in Tim's. You know how he does.
So
Say that motherfucker showed up to the dunk contest in Tim's. Said, I'm dunking in Tim's. I said, oh shit. Let me turn this shit off.
It's time to go. On that note,
let me turn this shit off.
But that's the only other team I thought of for Bob Myers, and that was Steve Kerr going there. Every other team, Toronto.
Masai not giving that up. Masai not giving that up.
I'm surprised Masai can deal with those taxes.
Masai just loves living in Toronto. Probably he probably just loves being there.
Okay.
You know, and it's what I hear. I haven't been to Toronto, but from what I heard, it's beautiful there.
I've been once. It is a nice town.
Did you get a chance to like spend time there, or just visit?
We visited. Went to some maple. Like it was around Christmas time, so with the family, we were just checking it out. Yeah, it was cool.
Okay.
The view is ill.
I'm sure.
I'm trying to think where else these guys can go. I just think it's the CBA thing is the big deal, bro. I think that's the bottom line for them.
Twin. You are the evil Drake twin. Now I see it.
What? I gotta timestamp that. I don't know where that came from. That's crazy.
I knew Fabian was gonna look at me like, yo, this nigga Flea is crazy.
What do I do to deserve that?
Nothing, brother. Nothing. You said Toronto. You said the views. You was out there. I said
I wasn't even triple entendre. Don't even ask me how. That's why when they say I'm not a Jay-Z fan, I'm like I'm a total Jay-Z fan, bro. Let's stop it. So I don't know any of the team, man. There's no way you're going to Portland. There's no way you're going to Chicago. Maybe. There's just and that's us just, who else can you go to?
I got another one, man. I got another one. And listen, we are always going to be a spot for somebody to land.
Okay.
We are always going to be the spot. New York Knickerbockers, and this is just not a Knick fan talking. We talking basketball right now. We haven't talked real Knicks at all tonight, and we don't have to. They're not playing right now. But the Knicks are always a destination landing spot for anybody looking for a top job. I don't care. Kerr was about to take that job in New York before he pivoted and went to Golden State, right? David Fizdale ran to Madison Square Garden. Hornacek ran to Madison Square Garden. Obviously, Derek Fisher got an opportunity, but, this was Tom Thibodeau's dream job. Yeah, he loved coaching in Chicago, but where did Tom start as an assistant coach? Next to Jeff Van Gundy as a New York Knick, right? So these we're always going to be a landing spot. Now, Kerr might look at that different. It might be a little more challenging. You know, you got to understand what you're walking into. I don't have Steph Curry, the best shooter of all time. I don't have Klay Thompson, the second best shooter of all time. I don't have those guys at my disposal. I got Jalen Brunson, who's a really, really good player, all-star level player, overachiever. Julius Randle. That's all I got. Julius Randle. Nah, I ain't got nothing to say about Julius Randle right now. Let me not be disrespectful. Julius has been a two-time All-Star, two-time All-NBA player. Julius has
Don't flip flop. Don't flip flop.
no, 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 no,
Stop
no.
it.
Because no, no,
If
no,
let
no,
me
no.
hold on. No. We got to do this right. If Bob
Okay.
Myers comes to the Knicks and he tells him, "Hey James, Jim, Mister Dolan, however you want to be called, no disrespect," I'll go over there. But I'm gonna be the president of basketball operations, whether your boy Leon likes it or not. He's either on board or he's not. And Steve Kerr's coming here. We're trading 3 draft picks or for him or whatever the case may be. And we're gonna get rid of Julius Randle, bring in Draymond Green, or whatever the hell he wants to do. I'm on board with it all. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Draymond Green comes here. If you want to have Draymond Green, he's not playing that bullshit. There will be a fight in the locker room. Another one. Good. Tape it twice. Put that shit out there. I'm gonna applaud it when you put it out there. What are we doing? What are we doing, Draymond Green? We need you
Yo,
to start some drama,
my
right?
dog Fabian is a nut, boy.
So because again, I think even Steve Kerr, his story is ill. People forget that. Well, his
His
father's
dad,
situation
yeah,
and everything.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
and he's a role player. He's a dog. I the Knicks are definitely. I didn't have him in contention with Bob Myers, but now that you said that, and I had to bring it on home because you threw in Julius Randle and tried to flip flop on it. No,
All right, let me stand on. Let me stand on.
yeah,
I'm gonna
get
stand on.
Julius Randle out. If we have to trade Julius Randle for and a couple of draft picks for Steve Kerr and Bob Myers, guess what? It's
I'm cool.
happening.
I'm cool. I'm rolling.
It's happening. Get out of here,
I'm
Leon
rolling.
Rose. Fuck your relationship with Jalen Brunson.
I'm rolling.
Hey Rick, you're fired. If that's the case. If
How,
Jim,
okay, okay, and
if
I
Jim,
wanted to get to that.
if Jim Dolan does that, if he hires Bob Myers and Steve Kerr, and they trade, I guess, Julius Randle or whatever for him, what happens? How do you feel? We'll close with that.
We'll close with this. Okay, I, I'll roll with this. If we have to do that to get Steve Kerr and Bob Myers in the fold, then I'm cool with that. But we have to understand that the production that we got out of Jalen Brunson this season, aside from him being a really great player, he is extremely comfortable in his spot. His dad is right behind the bench. His godfather is Leon Rose. So the level of comfortability that Jalen Brunson has in his first season as a New York Knick is major because of, you know what I'm saying? Because of what's in place. I look to the left. There's plenty of times I'll look when he comes out the game and he goes sits right next to his dad, and he's got the
So
iPad.
we keep Rick Brunson. We keep Rick Brunson
We keep Rick Brunson.
because of
We
what you
keep Rick
said makes
Brunson.
perfect sense. You gotta have Brunson's the leader. Like
He's the lead.
you can't shake that from him now. So I'm with you with that. You're right. You're right about that. Keep that guy as comfortable as possible in New York City because it's tough being here.
It's a hard job, right? And I think he's handled it well. He had a successful season. So like, if we didn't make the playoffs this year, it would have been tough. Like I want to see how we are next year as a team. Next year will determine the type of player Jalen Brunson is.
I don't need to wait for next year to determine that. I never needed to wait. I was doing that with RJ Barrett, deservedly so. Like Jalen Brunson is the type of player, person, character that he doesn't have you wait till next year. He's been every year just showing you something, and you can't if you're gonna shake the tree and get Leon Rose out of there, and disturb his comfort zone, you will have to keep his father around. I don't think you bring Draymond Green in for a reunion.
I don't want him
The,
nowhere near my team, Fabian.
okay,
Nowhere near
okay,
my team. And
we'll
I
find
was
another
really
dog.
right, but what I was really saying was we get to find out who Jalen Brunson is because it's two spots he's in now. He's the guy, right? He's not next to Luca anymore. He's the guy. And there's a level of expectation now. We're coming off a fifth seed. We're coming off winning a first round. We're coming off damn near sweeping the Cavaliers, a team that was better than us for an entire 82 game season. We damn near swept them, right? There's a level of expectation that Knick fans are coming with. There's a level of expectation that the NBA world is coming with. What does Jalen Brunson look like when expectation in New York is attached to your game now? That's what I mean by I want to see what he looks like this coming season.
And do you want that surrounded by Leon Rose and Tom Thibodeau, or Bob Myers and Steve Kerr?
If I had to take my pick, I want the latter. I want Steve Kerr and Bob Myers at the helm just because of their track record, right? Uh, but I also know, and in no way, shape, or form am I comparing Jalen Brunson and Derrick Rose. But
But
Derrick Rose was the youngest MVP guard, point guard, to win the MVP ever, right? When's the last time a point guard won the MVP before him? Steve Nash?
right, right. Steve Nash, point guard, and before Steve Nash, point guard got to be Magic. So yeah,
Gotta be Magic. So Magic, Nash,
and
Rose.
Derrick Rose.
So I'm just saying that Derrick Rose elevated under Tom Thibodeau. Got hurt, but he elevated. He was the best at his peak. He was under Tibbs, and Tibbs let him be. See, that's the other thing. People forget that, man. Tibbs let him be Derrick Rose. He got hurt. But those first 3 seasons, Tibbs, they have him. Come here, little nigga. You can't. No, go be you. Take us to
Okay,
the Eastern Conference Finals.
but it still reminds me of being Mark Jackson in Golden State and Steve Kerr coming in here and cleaning up those little overthinking moments where just a rotation. Even though the Golden State Warrior fans will complain about his rotations, I don't see him overlooking this or overthinking this. Like I think he knows if Julius Randle's there, I use him for this, and we gotta get these players to keep him in check because he cannot be the lead dog here. He can't be the guy intimidating everyone if he's gonna show up and do that. Like Draymond at least gets suspended and comes back and just he intimidates the other team.
Yeah.
Julius Randle does not intimidate the other team enough for
Mm-hmm.
his shenanigans. But yeah, that's the bottom line. I'd rather have them with leadership if they cannot disturb Jalen Brunson. That would be tough.
That would
That
be
would be
big.
tough.
That would be big. That would be big. Shit.
Yeah.
I like that. There's stuff to think about. Friendly fire. Friendly fire.
All we live flee on friendly fire. You have any shout outs? Where can we find you at? Let them know.
Yo, follow me on Instagram. Are we live? Damn. Hold on, y'all. Let me
You could
get
do
right.
that.
Let me
Is
get
there
right.
an, where is the underscore
Are we
located?
live underscore flee? Are we live underscore flee?
All we live, always got a special guest on. Great communicator. What do we say? You're long winded, but I envy the intention because I can't do that shit all the time. And it's the brain going crazy. That's not
Yeah,
an easy thing to do to communicate that way, to speak and enunciate every word, because that's really your focus, is to say it right. That should always be everyone's focus. Just
right.
do the right thing. Do the
Yeah,
right thing. New York Knicks, do the right thing.
Do the right thing. I've been trying to work on that, Fabian, but I heard it from somebody, and they said don't change. Be you.
Yeah,
Be you. Because I was trying to like learn how to be a little more direct, a little shorter, because when I set the table, right? Because now all you gotta do is just pick up the fork, get your spoon, and you could dive in, right? Finding that balance is difficult, but I love the way I do it, and I appreciate you for saying that, man, for real.
nah. It's just again, we'll talk about that. But I appreciate Ari Live Flea coming on the platform. We're gonna post. You already know AllBallTV, Fabian Perspective. You already know Friendly Fire,
Friendly fire, we out of here.
Steve Kerr, Bob Myers.
Do the right thing.